Oh yeah. Yep. Good
Hey,
choice, man.
everybody, welcome back. This is Let's Talk Phys Ed. I am your host, Jason Steele. With me, as always, Tanner Rose. Tanner, we're in season 2, episode 18. How are you today?
Oh, I am good. I've been a little bit better. I tried to buy a house on you guys. I tried to buy a house in my school's backyard. I was going to be able to teach my own kids like you do. Didn't work out. So I'm a little bit bummed, but Aaron's here to cheer me up. I'm excited.
Aaron Hart in the house tonight. So season 2, episode 18, we've got Aaron Hart in here. Aaron, the executive director of Open. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, where you teach, where you're from? The viewers want to know, who's Aaron Hart?
All right. I'm first and foremost, I'm a dad. So I have a 10-year-old son, and he's actually doing a little bit of homework in the other room. And my daughter is a freshman in college, so we're going through all that, and she's back for her second semester, so everything's going well there. But we live in upstate New York, Cortland, and I teach at the State University of New York here in Cortland. It's mostly a teacher college. We have a lot of other majors, but the primary students are elementary ed, early childhood education, and then we have, I think right now in this year, we've got about 800 undergraduate PE majors. Whew. So we've got a massive physical education department that I'm a part of, and I love it. It's a great place to live and work.
Did I hear that right? 800 Phy-Ed majors.
Yeah, 800.
That's incredible.
Well, that makes sense. Out there on the East Coast, whenever I look at their Twitter profile, it always says SUNY Cortland. And for the longest time, I was like, "Sunny, what the heck?" It clicked eventually, but
and it's pronounced SUNY, but a lot of people say Sunny, and it's funny because there's more gray days in Cortland, New York, than I think in Seattle, and that might not be totally true, but it's close. It's close. But it's also not a big city. I mean, we live just south of Syracuse, and we've got beautiful hills and hiking trails and lakes, and it's really a nice place to live.
Awesome. That's super cool to hear that you've got that many kids in the program. That's incredible. So we're going to jump into some questions now. Some of these are phys ed related and some aren't. So nothing to be nervous over. We've got a cool lineup of questions, I'd say. Tanner,
right.
Fantastic job again, as usual. But question number 1. So we heard recently the Open podcast, and we heard you talk about the Open Basketball Nation and what that is. Can you give us a brief overview for those people who don't know what that is and how important it is to bring it to the community and bring it from Open?
Yeah, so what we want to do with the Open Basketball Nation is take all of our collective resources and start to think about who really impacts the physical literacy journey of our kids in our community through the sport of basketball. And, a lot of times it'll start with physical educators at even as early as kindergarten. I remember we were out in Indiana, in Indianapolis public schools, and we were doing fourth, fifth grade, material. And they're like, our kindergartners can do this, man. This is Indianapolis.
It's Indiana.
Yeah, man. And, so we've got the structure of K through 8 physical education in place. And now the next rollout over the next probably month and a half, we're going to start to introduce U14 youth coaching materials. So taking a lot of our physical education materials and reformatting it, packaging it for U14, U12, U10, U8, so that youth coaches can have developmentally appropriate materials to go in and run practices with. It's a part of the student's physical literacy journey. So we want to make sure that, people aren't trying to run a motion offense with their kindergartners, right?
Right. And that'll be big for coaches who are just getting into the profession. I wanted to coach soccer, and they made me coach basketball in order to coach soccer also. So I was taking these middle school kids out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I played 9th grade basketball, and I'm teaching 8th graders. So, and that was my extent. I would have loved to have had something like Open.
Yeah. So we're excited about that component of it. And, the other piece of it is we wanted to take basketball resources for physical educators, and we wanted to make sure that we infused the academic language piece, the assessment piece is all around depth of knowledge and student, student self-assessments, and really kind of raised the bar of instruction for basketball so that when we walked into, a 7th grade basketball physical education classroom, it wasn't just, the boys who are on the team and, the handful of girls who can also, hang, playing in the corner, and then everybody else is just walking around doing nothing or sitting in the bleachers. We wanted to make it so that the lessons were really accessible to as many students as possible, so that everybody could have an enjoyable basketball experience. I mean, I love the game of basketball. I coach basketball now. I've been coaching for about 20 years, and there's just so many people out there using basketball as a way to get kids active. We just want to help them do it in a more targeted manner.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. So, we talked a little bit about teaching at Cortland, and I was thinking about my experiences. I have always taught elementary. I guess I taught a little bit of middle school, but mostly all elementary. And then this year I had a chance to do some adult learning where I get to present to some teachers and stuff. And I just loved it. How do you feel about like teaching people who are going to be our future professionals, and like what's the best part of all that?
Wow, there's so many great things about teaching, right? So to narrow down the best part of it, I think that one thing I really love about teaching undergraduates is you can see, oftentimes you can see like that spark of professionalism ignite. And there's something that just switches. And I remember for me, it was probably second semester of my sophomore year where I was finally into major classes, and I was like, this is really what I want to do. And I just started to get after. I read everything that I could. I devoured everything that George Graham was producing at the time, and in that whole camp. And so I love seeing that in students' eyes, where you can kind of see that switch from, oh man, I'm an athlete and I'm here to play X, Y, and Z, or, intramurals are my life. And then that switch goes off and they're a part of the physical education majors club, or they're a part of the education club, and they're really starting to show their professional muscle. And, I love that. We're fortunate enough to have some really great students work with us in the AMP lab here as either graduate assistants or undergraduate, workers, and they just devour the curriculum development stuff that we do and the connection to the standards. And that stuff is just so fun because I take it for granted sometimes. I've been working with standards and outcomes for so long. I take it for granted that everybody should think that way. But
Right.
When you start to connect the dots with the younger folks, it's really pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. And so let's talk open a little bit. You've got that beautiful Nike open sweatshirt there.
Yeah.
Is that a full zip or is that a quarter
It
zip?
is. It's a full zip. Yeah.
Full zip. Even Tanner's rocking an open shirt today. I don't own one, so I've got
I'm gonna
have
see
some
you in Tampa.
problems
Right?
with that. We need to figure that out.
I'm gonna see you in Tampa, right?
Yeah, I will be there.
right.
Maybe an open one, but then on the other side, maybe like a Let's Talk Phys Ed logo or something, right? So,
All right.
ooh, those will sell. Those will sell. But let's talk open. Like, can you tell us the vision of open? How did open get started? Who's the brains behind it? Like, just how did this whole explosion happen?
Yeah, it's
Sorry, the big bang of open, right?
the big bang.
The
And
big
there's so
bang.
many like firecrackers that went off before the big bang that it's
Right.
it actually is a pretty long story that dates back all the way when I was teaching in Brooklyn, New York. I really didn't have any curriculum equipment, very little resources other than the phys ed professionals that I had kind of built into my my own personal learning network back then. And I started to see a need because we started to write grants, and we got a ton of equipment. I was able to get a lot of books. I was able to get some curriculum to come in, And then actually Jim DeLine came into my gym. This was back in, oh my goodness, this was like 1999.
Whew.
So I'm like, you can see some of the gray hairs.
Hold on. I was a sophomore in high school, so
yeah, man, there you go, right? So think about that. I was teaching when you were a sophomore in high school.
Yep.
Jim DeLine was already doing professional development stuff.
He's unreal, man.
That's why he's so amazing right now, right?
Yeah. It's all about repetitions, man. He has more repetitions than us.
Right. Not fair.
Yeah, exactly. But so he came into my gym, and he brought in these little green catch boxes and kind of showed us how the whole thing operated. And that whole thing just blew my mind. And since that day, it really was kind of my vision that I wanted to help as many teachers as I could through, my own curriculum writing. And so, time went on and I landed in a couple of different places. I've worn a lot of different logoed shirts over the years. And, and I actually started my own company. Jim worked with me for a little while. And it's funny because the company that I started, the whole basis of it was I wanted to create an online community where people could come and download content.
Right.
In 2003.
Okay.
Bad idea, man. There was no Twitter. There was no Facebook.
Yeah.
Right? It was like we had to code everything.
Oh, man.
There were no like widgets. There were nothing like that. So
it was.
Did your company at least have a cool name?
It was My Station PE. And actually, it's funny because as I travel around the country, our mascot was the gym rat. And like I'll meet up with people all the time that are like, hey, I was a gym rat, from back in the day. I remember that. I think there was like 500 of them total around the country. And but every once in a while I run into them. And a lot of those people have actually become great friends of mine. And, we have a great profession. Like our whole community is just such a really cool professional community. But needless to say, that business didn't work out. Right. And so we're trying, we're going along the way. And I landed with the Spark program. And, so Catch and Spark, I mean, those programs are all a part of the legacy of this. And, it's important for me to acknowledge that because such great work was done thanks to the grants that really made those programs take off. But, I got to a point a couple of years before we actually started the Open Project where, I was happy about everything that we were doing, but I realized really only the people with enough money to buy a curriculum had access to the materials that I was writing. And so, in retrospect, 26-year-old Aaron Hart in East New York, Brooklyn could not have afforded the content that I was creating.
Right.
And, it was like one of those moments where you're kind of having like, professional questions and thoughts and doubts about kind of the whole way that the whole thing's going. So Nick Klein was teaching elementary school at Parker Elementary School here in Cortland. And Nick and I had been friends for a long time. And actually we shared a garden plot together. So it was a community garden, and we would go in there and, we'd have a few beers and we'd weed and we'd plant tomatoes and all that kind of stuff. And so basically I would just talk through my professional like madness, and Nick would just listen. And so it all turned out we were over at his house, sitting on his couch, watching Syracuse basketball. And I don't know what was the catalyst, but all of a sudden we were like scribbling on, index cards and everything we could find. And by the end of that game, we had come up with the concept of Open.
That is so cool. And listening to you talk about it is scary for me because it sounds so familiar to what is going on with myself and Tanner.
Cool.
I started a company, which is failing, by the way. And I am an idea guy, and I talk all the time, and Tanner just sits there and listens.
Right.
So I don't know what we're going to come up with, but I highly doubt it'll be as amazing as open. So
Oh no, it will, but it'll just take
it'll
8
take
years.
yeah.
Well,
That's
especially since we live like 14 or 15 hours away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but you know what? You guys can talk like
Technology.
this,
Right. Yeah.
which is really cool. And
All right.
you
Hey,
know, that's an important part of the story that I think a lot of people don't realize about what open is. And the reality is it takes perseverance, just like we try to teach our kids, right? You have an idea. If you want to see that idea through, you have to continue to try, and you have to take your failures as learning lessons and stepping stones along the way. And, thank God my wife, she's a saint, because every time one of my crazy ideas blew up, she was still there with me. So
so scary because
that
my
sounds
wife
familiar.
is in the background and just turned around and gave me one of these.
she's right.
And she is a saint.
Yeah.
So
Hey, let's move on. We've got some really funny stuff here. So you got a 10-year-old boy, right?
Yes.
And I've got a 9-year-old, and Jason's got a 9-year-old, and I'm guessing that you know what this is. You know what this is?
Yeah, Pokemon cards for sure,
All
man.
right. So we're gonna play a game,
Uh-oh.
and you're gonna tell us whether it is a Pokemon or a cholesterol medicine. All right. So
Okay.
I'm gonna name 2 of them. You tell me which one is the Pokemon. Okay.
Yes.
The first one should be easy. Crestor, Pikachu. Which one's the Pokemon?
Pikachu.
All right, you win that one. All right, they're
Yeah.
gonna get a lot harder. All right, and I'm probably gonna say these wrong. Prevolite or Immogula? Prevolite or Immogula?
Immogula.
Boom, 2 for 2.
Nice.
Pokemaster. All right. Lopoid or Zorora? Lopoid or Zorora?
Zorora.
Man, this guy's good.
he's
All
good. He
3 for
collects
3.
Pokemon cards.
He probably does.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
have crazy high cholesterol. I've tried everything.
All right. Maybe that's what it is.
That's not true.
Or Nyakor? Venat or Nyakor?
Venat.
Man, he is killing it. I don't even think my kids knew that. 4 for 4. All right,
Nope,
Luxray
never got it right.
or Vesepia? Luxray or Vesepia?
I'm going with Luxray.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I
Jason, do
was.
you know any of these things?
I don't know the answers to these either, but in my head, I'm guessing all the same ones. So we're both 5 for 5.
No, you're not. You're going to
Good
get
work,
these
man.
wrong.
Good work.
I got 4 left. We've got to get some wrong. All right. Well, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Rapatha or Carvana? Rapatha or Carvana? Which one's
Carvana.
I said Rapatha in
You
my
knew
head.
it, Aaron. I don't even think we should do these last 3. You just got them all right. All right. I'll do one more. We're gonna
Do
get
one
some-
more. Pick the
All
hardest
right. Zeta or Fennekin? Zeta or Fennekin?
I'm going for Fennekin.
What? Never before has a
one.
guest
So he didn't
got
get
everyone right.
one wrong.
You got them all right.
You got them
Damn.
all right. Well, in that case, then we've got another competition one for you. You've got to get one of these wrong. Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to play some clips of some songs. They all say Hart in them, and you have to guess who sings it, who the artist is. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
You ready? Here we go.
Billy Ray Cyrus.
Billy Ray, he's got it. Okay, 1 for 1. Okay, number 2.
Oh, is that Celine Dion?
You got it, Celine
He does
Dion.
it. Yes.
Although if this was a speed round, my wife wins because she just leaned over and said Celine Dion. Number 3.
Is that Janis Joplin?
God, you are good. We
can't have him on again.
No offense to anybody else that we've ever interviewed, but you are the smartest person we've had on the show.
Or just the luckiest.
Nobody gets
just the luckiest. Okay,
This one should be.
You think this one's easy? I think this one's hard. Here we go.
That's the Black Eyed Peas.
God, man, you're so good.
Jason's got a story about this.
I have met Fergie. I know Josh DeMel.
For real?
We're from the same hometown.
No way.
Yeah, Minot, North Dakota. Yep.
Wow.
Real deal. Like my uncle and him were buddies. They played basketball together. I met Fergie. She didn't want to take a picture with me. Long story short. Okay, last one. If you get this one, this is incredible.
All right. Oh, you might have stumped me on this one.
Oh, no.
Play a little more.
Okay, you get 5 more seconds. Here we go.
Is that Maroon 5?
Oh, that's close. I'm giving it to him.
You got half of it. Maroon 5 and Gym Class Heroes.
Yes, yes.
Adam Levine,
yeah.
All right.
You're good. That was good. Okay, we're having so much fun with the speed rounds. One more, and then we've got 2 questions left. One more speed round. This one, we're going to put you on the spot with your open people here.
All right.
I'm sure all of them will be watching.
Don't get me in trouble, man.
I'll try not to. Okay. Who says all open people here now? All open. So that it narrows it down.
You're killing me. All right, here we go.
Yeah, right?
There's only a few of them, you know?
Right. Who says we don't cry as Fayed teachers, we sweat out of our eyeballs?
Well, that's Jim DeLine, yeah.
That was an absolute softball. You are correct.
Yeah, thank you. For the big meatball came over the plate. Yeah.
Big home run, right?
You're going to need deodorant for the next ones.
Yeah. There's really no wrong answer to all of these, but it will be fun. Who has the best hair?
Ooh, the best hair.
We'll see if you get the same answer we did. The best hair.
I mean, this is subjective, right? So, there's no wrong answer.
Right.
But
I mean, I think if I don't say this person, then they might be like, man, I spend a lot of time on this.
I think you're going to say this.
Alex O'Brien.
No. Didn't he shave his head? Did he used to have long hair? I thought he had
Brandon Herwick.
That's who I thought. That's who I had.
Yeah.
Like he kind of
those 2 guys, man. They spent some time.
They have hair product, right? Like when I see them in Tampa, if I forget my hair product, that's who I go talk to.
They can hook you up, no doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in their gym bag.
Yeah.
Who presents on Open more than anyone else?
Brian DeVore.
Yeah.
By the numbers. Yeah.
Yep.
You said, Jason.
He's good. Okay, this one, no right or wrong answer, but we have a couple that we think might be selected. Who has, of all the Open trainers, the biggest personality?
Oh, man. You don't even begin to understand how much personality is wrapped up into all of those trainers. So I can't really answer that question. I can't really answer that question. There's so many awesome personalities.
We'll give you that one, but only because you haven't got a question wrong yet.
Okay, all right.
15 questions, you're 15 for 15. We'll give you a pass.
Yeah, well, thank you for that one.
But that brings us to this one. Out of all the Open trainers, who is the most competitive?
Ooh, the most competitive. Let me think through this one. And there is no real right or wrong answer to this.
No right or wrong.
Man, on the basketball court, Brian is pretty competitive, man. I'm not even gonna lie. He does not want to lose.
Not who I thought you would say.
Yeah, on the basketball court. The most competitive guy in our whole organization would be Kurt Stone.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Although now that you did mention the fact that Brian was the most competitive on the basketball court, and my wife will attest to this. She's in the background here. Yesterday I was texting with Brian, and I told him that I got my suit for Tampa.
Nice.
And I was asking if there was a best dressed award, and his response was, if so, have fun with second place. So you are probably correct. He is probably the most competitive. And
Yeah.
I didn't have a comeback. Normally I can like dish it out pretty good.
Yeah.
He got me. He
Yeah.
got me.
And he'll be sharp. He'll be sharp for sure.
Yeah, he got me on that one. All right,
Yeah.
last one for me. Which open trainer needs 100% to be on this show next season?
Oh man, can I give you like?
Give me 3.
Yeah, give us a couple.
All right, I would say you need to have Elise on the show. Elise Lockman. She teaches with Brandon.
Yep.
Okay.
And ask her Weird Al Yankovic questions.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I
Ask
grew
her
up on
Weird
that.
Al questions. Like, because I'm thinking through like the whole format of the show and who would be interesting, and she'll crush Weird Al. Yeah, Weird Al.
All right, Tanner, write it down.
Right.
Let's see. Man, there's so. I mean, I wish you could have everybody on the show. I think. I mean, Rich Wiles is another good choice, and he's a big Point Break guy.
Ooh.
So both generations of Point Break.
Ooh.
So you could definitely.
You gotta watch it.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely gonna have to watch it. Man, now I only get one more. Who would it be? Gosh, you should just go through and just have them all on.
Just all it's.
We had about a dozen or so.
Yeah, right. There's so many good. I mean, they're all good trainers. That's why they're trainers. But let me just try to think through. You know, like, here's a trainer that's new for us, and I've gotten to know her, and she's pretty funny, and I think she would be a good show guest. And I would like to watch it because I'd like to learn more about her. But Ashley Sharp out in California, and for her, she's a big old school hip hop fan.
Oh, nice, perfect, right up. We're talking Point Break. We're talking Weird Al and hip hop. Right. Like that's what this whole show is based on.
You don't get that on some of those other shows.
Yeah,
those research-based shows. You don't do that.
Right. That's right up our alley. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to help you guys out with the questions.
Man, I appreciate it. Hey,
let me get my one last question. How much time we got?
Tanner's got one more. We're running out of time, but Tanner's got one more.
So we always run out of time to ask this question, but I think I'm going to ask it anyway. We like to find out what's the funniest thing. Like, what's your go-to story that when you're at home and you're with your neighbors, your family, whatever, you got that funny story you want to pop out there. What's your like Fayed funny story? Class, maybe it happened presenting. I don't know.
All right. So one of my favorite stories of all time teaching. I was teaching in Brooklyn, and I taught on the third floor gym where the gym was like in between floors. So you could jump from the fourth floor down a short flight of stairs and like come into the gym. Right.
Okay.
And so this one second grader, actually, by the way, I'm teaching kindergarten. So I've got, 25 kindergartners in the gym. And this second grader comes flying off the stairs into the gym, double hands, boom, flips the bird to everybody in the classroom, right? And I'm just like
why?
What just happened, right? And as he turns around to go, he didn't realize it, but there was a paraprofessional right outside the door. And as Miss Barks, she was like, nobody would mess with Miss B, right? And he turns around to run away, and boom, smack right into her. And she just gives him the old bear hug, takes him to the office, right?
Yep.
And so the next day, I go to my mailbox, and I'm like, it's morning, and I'm going through, and there's like a card in my mailbox, and it's from this young man, and there's a picture of me teaching kindergartners on the front of the thing, and I open it up, and it says, "Dear Mr. Hart, I am so sorry I ran into your gym and stuck up both my middle fingers."
That's a keeper.
It will never happen again. I am so sorry.
You know what? His students at Cortland are going to see this, and somebody's going to run into class, on Thursday. Hey! And everybody's going to laugh.
You probably will become your favorite student of all of them if they do that. That would be
fun. And I'll tell you what, this little guy that did that, he wasn't a bad kid. Like he wasn't a troublemaker. Like he just, we talk about SEL competencies and impulse control. He lost it, man. He just didn't have impulse control for the 15 seconds that whole thing went down. Like impulse control was gone.
Well, with that, that brings us to a close of episode 18. Aaron Hart, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to play your tune here again to end the show. And why don't you take us out? You're going to tell us how we can get a hold of you, if you've got a website or an email or your Twitter handle or anything, where if someone wants to talk to Aaron, that's how they talk to Aaron.
All right, fantastic. Check me out on Twitter at NYAaronHart, and go to openphysed.org for thousands of pages of free resources that we create and publish. And you can also hit me on email, ahart@openphysed.org. Thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us, and we loved having you on the show. Thanks, everybody.